Oh, I walked into the tree. Hey members, injured myself. Is what it is. Anyway, let's crack on. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Screen Tested. I am your host, Tyreth. Now today's episode is something that is very out of the ordinary. I'm probably only gonna, hopefully, do once, and that is talking about some of the, the most dangerous tests that I've done here on the channel and some of the injuries that I have sustained along the way. Now, first and foremost, I should mention that I'm talking specifically about stuff related to, making content and the YouTube videos that I've made, not injuries from like my personal life, from my personal life, and I will be including my workshop injuries as well. Now, I want to make this clear is that I actually think that I've been very, I don't know if we should call it lucky, but I haven't sustained as many as you would think, especially considering, the type of content and the stupid shit that I've done. I've actually been relatively fine. I haven't actually injured myself that seriously or that badly. And usually if something has gone wrong, it's like contextual, which I'll explain a little bit. I like to think that is an indicator that I know what I'm doing and that I do take safety somewhat seriously. given what I do, I take it seriously. So let's start with some simple ones. Now, I should make this clear. I don't know what YouTube's going to allow me to show. There are some clips that I just don't have anymore, and I'll get into them when I get to them. But I will show what I can, to the best of my ability. So starting off, let's start right at the start of the channel. So we have, Hidden Blade, Thor's Hammer, Shield, Wolverine Claws, Daredevil, blah, blah, blah. The first injury that arose was actually with Thor's hammer, if you could believe it. So you'll sense a theme as well in some of the projects. So Thor's hammer, I attached a big, this hammer here, big, heavy, 3 kilo aluminum hammer to a big bungee cord essentially, and threw it and catch it. One of the funnest things that I think we've done on the channel. Really stupid, honestly, and I'm really surprised how well it worked. It actually worked really well. So I didn't actually injure myself on the filming day. I never injured myself on the filming day. It all went according to plan, and it all worked perfectly, which is awesome. Before I do stuff on camera, especially if it's like a original concept, I will test it out before. And when I say test it out, I mean like literally just make sure that the thing will perform when we go out there to film. I film a very far, like a long way away. If I do something and like a good example of this was the boxing arrow. I didn't test that beforehand. I didn't even see if it would shoot. And then when we got out there, it didn't work. There was a big mistake. So I had to come back another day and film again. Yeah, we're gonna have to rework this design because that's not enough power. What I'll try to do is make sure that at the very least, the concept is valid. So with the Thor hammer one, I remember I finished building it, or at least I got it close to building. And I went out and I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna make sure that if I throw it, it somewhat returns. It does return. Well, I mean, we saw that in the episode. The problem was, on the back of the hammer, there was a sharp burr, essentially. And when I originally tested it to make sure that the concept was, valid, I ended up grabbing the hammer, I threw it, and I put my hand out to catch it, and I put my hand out kind of like this, and I had no gloves on. And because it came directly back, the actual sharp bit of the hammer went straight into the palm of my hand and sliced open the palm of my hand. So that one sucked a little bit. It wasn't too bad or anything. It was just one of those things where I was kind of like, all right, I'm gonna quickly go check if it works. And I didn't bother to put a glove on. So after we go from Thor hammer, we have another couple episodes, and then we have the Castlevania whip. I don't have the footage for this one. So this one here, if you're unfamiliar, was a big long chain with a force multiplier on the end, because that's what it is in the show, the Castlevania whip. It was pretty gnarly in a lot of ways. Now, the reason why I don't have the footage for this one is because back when I started the channel, I didn't have any archiving ways to archive the data that I'm producing. I'm producing a lot of 4K footage. We're talking hundreds of gigabytes of video footage. And back then I just didn't have any storage options. So I had to delete it so that I could put new videos in, etc. We're doing, a video a week. So I ended up deleting the footage for the Castlevania one. So I'll show you what is in the video, and I'll explain what happened in, like in the outtake. Essentially what happened was, because it's a big articulated weapon, a big long whip essentially with a weight on the end, I went to hit a bottle and the bottle was standing there, but instead of hitting and making contact on the bottle, because like 2 meters away, 3 meters away, whatever it was, it ended up whipping around the bottle, and because the bottle is not like fixedly secured, it can fall over. As the weight of the chain came onto the bottle fell over, and it fell over at the exact moment it was facing directly back at me. So if you've ever looked at like rope dart stuff, it was essentially a rope dart technique that the bottle had employed, if we want to put it that way, and hit me directly, essentially here in the heart. It actually hit me right in the heart, right here. Marcus was there and he can attest to this. Now, I was wearing my Gambison, so obviously literally nothing went through. It didn't hurt that much, but it was definitely, taking a solid bit of steel to the chest wasn't fun either. So that was the second injury that I had sustained at this point, and as you can tell, they were both articulated weapons. All right, so the next one is kind of a little bit of a story time. I mean, they're all technically story times, right? Chaos blades. Now, don't worry, I did not sustain a single injury all throughout the filming of this, and we did some, we did some cool shit with that one. The week of that filming, the lead up to it, right? My back had just felt really tight and kind of weird all week, but it wasn't like injured or anything. And the morning of, as I was waiting for everybody to get here, I ended up picking up Tony, and I don't know what it was, but it unleashed something in my back so painful. I was having trouble actually standing up, like I could not move. And so we're all there, Marcus was there, Nathan was there, Nate was there, and my back was bad. It was really, really bad. And I was really, I was at the point where I don't even think I could film. I couldn't move. So we took a whole bunch of Tiger Balm, Tiger Balm, the little stuff that essentially heats up the muscles and that sort of stuff, and we just lathered that all over my back. Got in the car, traveled an hour, 2 hours away, and by the time I got there, it was still very painful, but I just play through the pain, champ. So I'm actually really happy with that episode, more so because I was quite in pain during the filming. So that is one that I've never spoken about because I actually kind of, just memory hold it. I didn't want to think about it. Funny how we're 3 for 3 for articulated weapons at this point. All right, let's switch it up. Let's talk a little bit about workshop. Now, in the workshop, I have only ever sustained the most minor of minor injuries. I'm talking, maybe you cut your hands, things like that. Like, there are times where I've worked particular projects and, you're dealing with blades or little sharp things. So my hands have like 30 to 40 scars. I'm not even joking. I have scars all over my hands just from, little things like that. Little bits of machinery or little bits of sharp bits of metal, whatever it is, right? That happens. The particular injury that I'm talking about was I got a new belt sander. The belt sander that I use all the time. This is a cheap belt sander, which means that it is not made to, rigorous specifications, shall we say. And when I first got it and I was first testing it out, there's a huge gap. I might get some B-roll to show you guys, but there's a huge gap in one of the tolerances, and we're talking like enough to fit a finger in, to be very specific. And when I was trying out the brand new belt sander, and it pulled my thumb in. Now, I don't know if I can show this full image. I'll try my best, but it might be blurred. If it's blurred, it's because YouTube stuff, right? But it pulled the top of my thumb in and actually took the top of my thumb off. So it kind of like flattened it out. So both of my thumbs, this one's round, this one's a bit more flat, because it got pulled into the sander and basically just, so that was in pursuit of making, obviously workshop stuff, but that's probably I think that's probably the worst workshop injury that I've gotten. Like I really try to make sure that, I'm not around in the workshop, as most people should. So I don't think I've sustained any any other injuries in the workshop? I think that's kind of like the most substantial one. And I've never done that again. Never done that again. If you're enjoying today's episode, and I genuinely hope that you are, I would really appreciate it if you would consider supporting on Patreon. A lot of the content that I make is kind of expensive, and I really rely on a lot of you guys for that support. That is kind of what pays for pretty much all of the resources and stuff that we use for the regular testing videos. So if you like the content and you've been around here for a while, head down to some of the links down below, specifically to the Patreon, and consider supporting. I would genuinely appreciate it. And if you can't support, of course, that's completely okay. Of course it is. Maybe you'd consider subscribing if you're not subscribed, that is. All right, with that being said, let's get back to the episode. I mean, in terms of tests here, we've got plenty of really stupid ass tests. You know, like Geezer's wheel, that was dumb. That was very dumb. Didn't get injured or anything, just a dumb test, stupid test. Obviously the whip sword, I got the little, you know, the little kickback from it, hit me right in the bloody bone of the elbow. Actual force onto things. Oh! Ouch. That was right on the elbow. Funny, didn't hurt that much, perfectly fine. Grappling hook was, you know, I didn't really sustain any injuries on the grappling hook one, which is good, but man, the rope burn on that. Woo! Rope burn through gloves! I didn't know that was possible. Wasn't really too fun. Wasn't too fun at all. Ow! That got hot. The next injury that I would probably say that I sustained was an outtake, a blooper. So it was during the filming of the most recent short film, you know, this year's short film, right? And I'd finished the scene and I turned around to walk out, and there was a big root, like a big wood root sticking out, and I didn't see it because I was, you know, looking right up. I was in the middle of the scene, and I walked straight into it and I cut my shin. It hurt. That one hurt. That one hurt. You know, nothing serious or anything like that. Very more funny than anything else. Oh, I walked into the tree. Oh, fucking shins, brother.
You'll be fine.
Whew.
You've suffered worse.
Toji's Heavenly Divine Spear, which is obviously a you know, meteor hammer, rope dart type weapon. Another articulated one, funnily enough. So this particular one, this particular injury was, it was not good, but there was a lot of, like, you know, kind of failures in it. First off, I'd filmed this particular episode at the end of the day after I'd filmed, you know, like 4 or 5 episodes. Some of you guys may not know, especially if you're not, you know, a supporter or a member. I film in batches, so I'll film like 5 episodes in one day. And the particular day where I filmed the beginning of this episode was the day that I'd done the Giant Sword episode. I'd done Titan's Bane, so I was absolutely exhausted. I was tired, and I was like, screw it, let's just give it a go, right? That was on me. I'm very tired. And so what ended up happening was the gloves that I were wearing was super slippery. It was like dangerous because of how slippery it was. So the blade was flying around and it was slipping out of my hands. I couldn't hold it. So I took my gloves off. Now, a particular quirk of my gambeson, not this particular one, but the same design as this one, is that these sleeves actually, they split open. So they split open and they have like kind of a gap here. And if you would believe it, the one place where the blade kicked up and kicked into my arm was the one gap in my armor, was the one gap in my gambeson. I'm so tired. Shit. Yeah, I sliced my hand open. So I wanted to go over all of the factors that actually led to this particular injury, because it wasn't just one failure, it was like 4, it was a bunch. So let's start with the first one. Obviously, it was at the end of the day. I was completely exhausted, both physically and mentally, and I really shouldn't have tried to do this particular, you know, episode, which was dangerous, at that particular time. I just shouldn't have done it. Next up is the gloves that I had on me were my backup gloves. They weren't my actual proper main gloves, so they had very, slick and slippery palms, which meant when I was swinging around the heavy blade, they kept slipping in my hands, which was super dangerous, so I had to take them off, which led to the one exposed little area on that particular gambeson that I wear. And then the last point was obviously this particular blade, like I mentioned in the episode, was too long for the techniques that you need to do with it, and as such every time it would hit the ground and this would mess up the flight pattern, and on this particular shot it hit the ground, messed up the flight pattern, and then hit the exact area where I was exposed. So it was a multitude of failures, and the reason why I know this is because when I went back and filmed the episode, I filmed it when I first got there, nice, full of energy, no fatigue, no nothing, and the episode went perfectly fine, not a single issue at all. Now the funny thing is, after this injury is when I sustained a much worse injury because of this one. So after I'd sliced up my arm, it took like about 2.5 weeks to heal, and so I wasn't able to train or really do much for 2.5 weeks. And so when I was finally able to train, I trained way too hard. I pushed myself right to the limit, and in doing so, I actually injured the tendon in my arm. Some of you guys may remember this from a couple episodes last year. I injured my arm twice, actually, in the last couple of months, and I'm currently dealing with a tendon injury on my right arm, so it's very painful. That is so heavy, holy shit. I've still got my tendon injury. And that injury was very painful, and I think it took about 3 months to heal. It took a really, really long time to heal. And even now, I've got most of, obviously, all my strength back, but there's still just that little bit. As you get older, obviously these injuries don't 100% heal anymore. So yeah, I thought I should mention that. Now, since the time of recording this particular episode, I actually injured myself one more time, and I thought I should mention this one. It's just a little funny one. When I made my custom katana, as you guys remember, my beautiful katana that I absolutely love, I made my flame tsuba on it. Now, this particular tsuba does have kind of some pointy areas. Not sharp, just pointy. And I was in preparation to a recent episode, and I was getting my katana ready, and I went to grab it out of the saya, and my thumb got jammed in the tsuba and actually got stuck in there and sliced into my thumb. Just a little one, but I thought I should mention it because it does technically count. But I think that's going to be all for today's episode. The funny thing is, right, on the YouTube channel, this is actually when I've been the most chill in my life. Most of my life, I have been doing way, way more dangerous and stupid things, which isn't a brag, because I actually look back on those times now and I go, holy, that was some of the dumbest things you should have done. Like, you could have died at any moment from any number one of these things. I probably shouldn't tell this story, but there was a time when I was a kid, when I was maybe about 5 or 6, I think that's how old I was, I can't remember. I reversed my great-grandparents' car into the side of their house. So and that's when I was a kid doing things by accident, right? So I just wanted to make this clear. It's funny, right? I am at the most chill, and I try to avoid doing stupid stuff these days when I'm making content. But man, it pales in comparison to some of the stupidest things I've done. Anyway, that's going to be all for today's episode, guys. I genuinely hope you enjoyed a little bit of kind of, I would say, behind the scenes sort of stuff. A lot of it is literally behind the scenes stuff. As always, I'll see you next week in another episode. Have a good one.